Hi, my name is Vinh Tran. I'm a mortgage banker with First Integrity Mortgage here in St. Louis. This short video, we're going to talk a little bit about the house hunting process. And before we get really far into this, I want to introduce you to Michelle. She's a DE underwriter here with our company and been with the company for 20 plus years.
Thank you.
Yeah. Just the highlights of what we're going to talk about. The importance of the pre-approval process before you actually shop, and also keeping in contact with each other as you guys are looking at houses. The other part is having a good agent. And most buyers don't realize and may not know, especially if they're a first-time buyer, that the seller actually pays for the commission of your agent. So it is important to get representation, somebody in your corner that's going to fight for you instead of going to an open house and that listing agent was very happy to bring you on, but they're not going to be serving your interests and serving you well. And then finally, how to finalize a sales contract that Michelle will also talk with us about. So why is it important to get a pre-approval? It's important because you need to know definitively what kind of price range to shop, so it doesn't waste your time, doesn't make your realtor frustrated because they really don't know how to really serve you well. So part of the process of coming together with a client is understanding their income, their expenses, and ultimately what they qualify for a purchase. And part of that may be also understanding what you're comfortable with your payment. Just because you can afford something at a very high amount may not be where you want to be. So making those distinctions is important. And then ultimately having a solid pre-approval letter allows you to quickly and aggressively make an offer. Right now it's a seller's market, and you find a house you like. If you're not in a position to write a contract and write one that's very aggressively, somebody else is going to take that house from you, and then you have to start the process over again.
And I just want to reinforce there that it's not always what you think you can qualify for. It's what we say that you can qualify for based on what your credit report debts are and what your gross monthly income is when we look at it as an underwriter.
Absolutely. Once I issue a pre-approval letter, it's typically good for 90 days, and it should give you plenty of time to go shop, especially if you're buying an existing home. Now just know that any changes during this process to your credit, whether you go buy a car or open up new credit card accounts, will have an impact on the pre-approval.
Right, and if you, even on your existing cards, if you're spending on and using credit, then that's going to increase your monthly payments. So that would affect your pre-approval as the underwriter is looking at your debt to income ratio. If that increases, then that makes it harder for us, and we have to go back and revise that. Also, another change that could affect your pre-approval is status in your employment. If you have reduced hours, if there's been a layoff, and most importantly, if you have lost your job for some reason, we would need to know that as soon as possible.
Right. Yeah, during this process, I tell all my clients it's important that any changes you go through, all the things that Michelle just cited, to call me before, preferably, those things happen. For those of you that are potentially first-time home buyer, have not necessarily have a agent that you've ever worked with in the past, here are some helpful hints in terms of how to go about picking out a realtor. First of all, find somebody who is going to put your interests first and foremost. It is your life, it is your house that you're going to have to live in for a number of years, and ultimately serving your interests is the very first thing that you want in somebody. And then also somebody that is going to show you houses within the range that you've been pre-approved for. It's not helpful for you to get a pre-approval letter for $200,000 and keep showing you a $300,000 home because it just doesn't work in the end and just wastes a lot of your time. And then I think the last thing that is equally as important is somebody who understands the market and the area that you're trying to buy your home. So if you're trying to buy in the city, and working with a realtor that specializes in Wildwood is not going to serve you well.
Right, and you want one that's going to communicate well between you and your lender. And sometimes things come up that we need some changes to be made and some revisions to the contract so that they comply with all the agency guidelines. And it's a good thing if they can communicate well with us and take care of that part for you. If you don't know any agents in your area, if you call Vin, he has an excellent list of agents all in different market areas, and he can help you with that.
So working with an experienced and a reputable agent is important to this process. They should know what should and should not be on a contract. Michelle, can you talk a little bit about that?
Sure. Some things that we see on contracts that shouldn't be there are personal property items. Could be swing sets, could be big screen TVs. Things like that are sometimes considered seller incentives, so they need to not be part of the contract and would have to be removed during the process. Also, we look at seller credits. Seller credits need to be stated in the way that they are being used to pay closing costs and prepaids for the buyer. Another thing that you might want to just consider is the inspections that you have to have done for the property that you're purchasing. If things come up, they need to be done in a timely manner. If things come up during those inspections, it can delay your loan commitment and your closing. So we need to address those items as soon as possible.
So once you have an accepted contract, this thing goes forward in a very quick manner. We need to get appraisals order, and we need to get inspections, and typically your agent will handle that. But really at that time, we need to plan towards closing. You have to be in town, and your availability for us to be able to communicate through that short window of, whether it's probably typically a 30-day window, is really important, because anything that stops us from communicating also could stop us from actually getting the closing on time.
With the acceptance of your contract, your loan's going to be moving forward in the loan process. It's going to be going through your coordinator for processing and collecting of documentation and all of that, and being prepared to be submitted to your underwriter to have it reviewed. Please keep in mind, we're only asking for what the government agencies require of us to ask for. So when I have to say I need additional pay stubs or bank statements, it's really important that you get that documentation to us in a timely manner.
Right. Yeah, just know in this process, my goal is to be of service, and also to communicate expectations clearly, but most importantly, to get your loan closed and closed on time, because that's what's important to you. And this is part of that cooperation process or collaborative process that we work together to achieve your goals and objectives. So again, as you go through this process, have questions, please email or call me. Love to hear from you, and look forward to being able to help.